Here's the this is a bit of a shorter story though. This is about, and I always have to look for it because it jumps out of my head, the regulatory impact statements. This government is not going to be using them. Now, this government, I think I might even say it in the story, this now government, then when in opposition, used to use the regulatory impact statements to keep an eye on the then government. David Seymour was great at using them to be able to go, hang on, the regulatory impact statement says this. Well, this government has decided, yeah, we don't want to do them anymore.
Newshub has seen a cabinet paper that says cabinet has decided to...
Oh, by the way, second leak. This is the second cabinet paper leak in 5 days.
...remove the requirement for regulatory impact statements.
And we've got legislation that we're repealing. We think it's a huge waste of time for everybody to go off and create a regulatory impact statement.
A waste of time. For someone to check my numbers, show your workings, folks, is a waste of time.
The statements basically model the impact changing the rules will have on, for instance, the government books, a particular sector of business or a particular community group. The Prime Minister says, though, there's no point officials writing them because his ministers simply won't read them.
You've got people just working and churning, generating papers that are never going to be read and not that relevant to the decision being taken.
Never going to be read and not that relevant to the decision. Now, folks, can you see why when we get that paper leaked last week from Brooke Van Velden, she was given advice and she ignored it? Can you see why Maddie McLean on TVNZ reads the research about what the experts are saying about the $5 prescription fees being off and they're ignoring it? They're actually saying, I don't care. If you write them, it's just a waste of printer paper. We're not even going to read them. That level of just absolute bloody mindedness. Some in the chat are saying it's scary. They're using different words. Let's see what sorry, you're going to say?
I'm going to say one thing here. This I'm going to go against the grain here, Pat. This is, I think, something that can improve New Zealand society as a whole. Have you ever had to read a boring email at work, or a new safety procedure that's been given to you, or your expectations or your job description? Just don't read it. You can do whatever you want. Just say, I'm not going to read that. There you go. That's easy. Your job's so much easier now.
Just imagine if builders and architects went, all those special rules they put in place to have a house built safely and stuff, we're just not going to read them. When the inspector from the council comes along and looks at the work you've been doing and they generate a report, we're not going to read those. So just don't even bother. Don't even bother making those. You don't have to watch our workings. We'll be fine. We know where the nails go. Let's listen to Mr. Grant here, shall we?
I think it's reckless. These statements are important for making sure we know what the real costs of these changes are. These are big changes. We're talking about the repeal of fair pay agreements, the Resource Management Act changes, the smoke-free changes.
Luxon says he's here to do things differently, change the relationship between business and government.
You don't just pass on with a bunch of, all respect Wellington bureaucrats making some decisions about how to run a business from Wellington.
You're a Wellington bureaucrat.
And that's not what it is. It's not them telling them what to do. It's going, we've done all the workings and checked your numbers, and this is what we see. This is it. It's not telling them what to do. He's trying to do this neoliberal, free market thing about no one's going to tell us our business what to. It's not that. It's actually them keeping an eye. It's actually Wellington people, Wellington bureaucrats keeping an eye on the Wellington bureaucrats and saying, hey, guys, just be aware of this. We've seen this. You might want to double check your numbers. So it's got nothing to do with telling the fucking businesses what to do. It's actually got to do with telling the politicians if they've got it right or if they've got it wrong. And he's going, nah, can't be bothered.
Do you respect the public service in Wellington?
Absolutely.
Do you think they think you do?
Well, I hope they do.
Minister for Regulation, David Seymour, has long rallied for better official advice and often relied on it as an opposition MP to scrutinise government decisions.
They can be important, but frankly, at the moment, they're not very good.
Labour's finance spokesman Grant Robertson says it's important the public sees the evidence behind the policies, even if the government disagrees with it.
It's fully in the power of the government to ignore the advice they get, but the public should know what that advice is.
So why are you so scared of a regulatory impact statement?
I'm not, but I'm not interested in wasting time.
No time to waste when you've promised to deliver a 100-day plan.
Yeah, I'm not interested in wasting time. What's that? Final words of what do they call them? The builders that don't follow the rules. Cowboy builder. I'm not interested in reading the plans. Let's just build. I'm not interested in wasting time.
Pat.
Yeah,
I don't need to follow those guys that went to university to learn how to architect or whatever. I'll just hammer nails. he didn't have to deal with any of this when he was an Axe body spray middle manager. He didn't have to deal with this when all he had to do was sit in an office at Air New Zealand and hope things didn't get worse. So why would we expect him to do it now? But for all of this, for everybody sort of going, what about democracy? You know, these guys are going, oh, that's not democratic. This is it. He promised to be one of the most transparent governments this country has ever seen. And he is removing a key piece of transparency into how they reach their decisions. It's not even the case of like, this would stop us making these decisions. It's literally not. It's a piece of paper. It's a report that says you're thinking of making this decision. Here are the possible downstream effects of what might happen if you go this way or you go this way. Yeah, but we're not going to get that. They're not, because they are not doing their job and reading it. And it's not like every MP is going to sit down and read every piece of paper. They have teams that do this. They have advisors. But this is meant to be the non-bias. You know, this is like someone devil's advocating your decision, putting it in a report, and you go, oh fuck, I hadn't thought about that. That's actually quite a major one. Yeah, maybe I've changed my position. They don't want to get that information. They don't want to change their position
because they want to go as quick as they can. And as they said on the news report, you know, if they miss their 100-day targets, then of course they're going to be embarrassed. And their thing most of all is to be seen to be competent and better than the last guys. So
it's about speed.
Yeah,
it's like, well, great, speed. Is that necessarily a good thing? Or are you just going to do dumb shit even quicker? Like, it's like this is one of the many, many things when I talk about this government's short-term thinking, short-term ideological thinking. It might be short-term for them. It might accomplish even some of their short-term goals, which could be as early as we want to still be government in 3 years. But the things that they are setting up now and the precedent that they are setting are things that we are going to be dealing with for decades, potentially.